The sky above Lumina turned dark as night, even though it was only midday. This was not a normal darkness. This was the shadow of death. Ambassador Trell stood by the large window in the Grand Council chamber. His four-fingered hands shook as he looked up at the ships that blocked the sunlight. Large black vessels shaped like metal claws hung in the sky. They had appeared 3 days ago, and since then, 3 outer colonies had gone silent. "They are called the Vorax," said first Minister Vala. She was old even by Luminan standards. Her skin had the pale blue shine of those who had lived for over 300 years. "They take what they want. They kill those who fight. They make slaves of those who live." Trell turned from the window. The Grand Council room was filled with 20 Luminan leaders. All of them looked scared. Their tall, thin bodies seemed to shrink under the weight of fear. "Our long-range sensors show 50 more Vorax ships heading this way," said Defense Minister Loon. "They will be here in 10 days. We have only 30 defense ships. They are not made for war." The Luminans had not fought a real war in over 5,000 years. Their society was built on peace, art, and learning. They had the technology to build weapons, but they chose not to. Peace had served them well as they met other races among the stars. At least, until now. "What about our allies?" asked Trell. "The Burdens? The floaters? They have even fewer ships." "Than we do," said Vala. "The Vorax hit them first. The few ships they sent to help us were destroyed yesterday." Silence filled the room. 20 of the smartest beings in the galaxy, and none had an answer. Then Vala spoke again. "There is one option we have not tried." All eyes turned to her. "The humans," she said softly. A wave of whispers filled the room. Some sounded afraid. Others angry. "The Deathworlders?" asked Loon. "They are dangerous, unpredictable." "Yes," said Vala. "And that is exactly why we need them now." Trell understood what she meant. 50 years ago, the Luminans had discovered Earth. It was classified as a death world, a planet so harsh that life should not exist there. Yet humans not only survived on Earth, they thrived. They built cities in deserts and on frozen lands. They lived where the air itself could kill with invisible disease. They ate plants that would poison any Luminan. They kept animals that could tear them apart as pets, and they fought wars. Endless wars. Against nature, against each other. Humans were always fighting something. When the Luminans first contacted Earth, many galactic races wanted nothing to do with humans. Too violent, they said. Too aggressive. But the Luminans saw something different. They saw beings who never gave up, who always found a way to survive. The Luminans had welcomed humans to the stars, helped them meet other races peacefully. "Do you think they will help us?" asked Trell. "We helped them join the galactic community when others would have kept them isolated," said Vala. "And humans remember both friends and enemies very well." She walked to a small metal box on the far wall. It was covered in dust. No one had used it in decades. Inside was a device given to them by the humans during first contact. A quantum communicator linked directly to Earth. "This will reach them instantly, no matter the distance," Vala said. The humans called it a red telephone for some reason. She opened the box and pressed the single button inside. A small light turned from red to green. The device was working. "This is First Minister Vala of the Luminan Confederation," she spoke clearly into the device. "We face extinction at the hands of the Vorax Dominion. Our outer colonies have fallen. Our homeworld will be next. We call upon humanity for aid, as friends in desperate need." There was silence for a long moment. Then a gruff voice answered, "This is Admiral James Black, United Earth Defense Force. Message received. Hold position. Help is coming." That was all. No questions, no demands. Just a promise. "How can they help?" asked Loon. "Earth is 11 light-years away. The Vorax will be here in 10 days. Trell remembered something from his time studying humans. "Their ships are faster than anything in known space," he said. They built them that way because humans hate waiting, and their ships are not like ours. What do you mean? Asked a young council member. Our ships are made to explore, to trade, to live in comfortably, explained Trell. Human ships are made to survive damage, to fight. Everything on a human ship has at least 2 backups. Their hull metal can take direct hits from meteors, and they have weapons. Many, many weapons. How do you know this? Asked Loon. I was part of the first contact team, said Trell. I have been on their ships. I have seen human children play games where they pretend to be soldiers. I have watched their movies about wars in space. Fighting is in their blood. 3 days passed. The Vorax ships stayed in orbit, occasionally sending down small scout ships that flew over Luminan cities, scanning and observing. The Luminans could only watch and wait. Then, on the morning of the 4th day, alarms blared across the capital city. The Vorax were moving. 20 of their black ships descended through the atmosphere, heading straight for the center of the city where the Grand Council chamber stood. Trell and Vala watched from the same window where they had first seen the Vorax ships. So this is how it ends, whispered Vala. At least we die free. The humans said they would come, said Trell, but his voice held little hope. Just then, the sky lit up with bright flashes of light. At first, Trell thought the Vorax had started bombing the city, but the flashes were happening above the Vorax. Ships. New ships appeared in the sky. Sleek, gray vessels with red and blue markings. They moved faster than anything Trell had ever seen, darting between the larger Vorax ships. Beams of light shot from the new ships, slicing through the black hulls of the Vorax vessels. The humans, breathed Trell. They came. A massive ship, at least 3 times the size of the largest Vorax vessel, emerged from the clouds. On its side, in large letters, was written, UF's Defender of Peace. Trell almost laughed at the name. Only humans would name a warship after peace. A voice boomed across the city coming from the human ships. Attention Vorax forces. This is Admiral James, Black of the United Earth Defense Force. You are attacking a protected ally of humanity. You have 1 chance to retreat. After that, we will show no mercy. The Vorax ships began to turn, trying to aim their weapons at the human vessels. It was all the answer Admiral Black needed. They chose war, said Trell softly. They don't understand what that means when fighting humans. As the battle raged in the skies above Lumina, Trell knew the galaxy would never be the same again. The Deathworlders had come, bringing their fury to protect those who could not protect themselves. The call for help had been answered. Admiral James Black stood on the bridge of the UEFS Defender of Peace, watching as his ships tore through the Vorax fleet above Lumina. His weathered face showed no emotion, but inside he felt a deep satisfaction. The Luminans had been kind to humanity when other alien races feared them. Now it was time to repay that kindness. Status report, he ordered. Captain Lisa Ford looked up from her screen. 5 Vorax ships destroyed. 7 retreating to orbit. The rest are holding position, but their weapons seem to be powering down. They're surprised, said Black. They didn't expect us to respond so quickly, or so forcefully. 3 days earlier, Black had been at Earth Command headquarters when the Luminan distress call came through. He remembered the Luminans well. Tall, peaceful beings who had welcomed humans to the galactic community 50 years ago. They had stood up for humanity when other races wanted nothing to do with the violent apes from the Death World. The emergency meeting had lasted only 10 minutes. Earth's leaders made a quick decision. The Luminans needed help. Humanity would provide it. Ready all combat fleets, the Earth President had ordered. This is what we've prepared for. Humans had always known that their warlike nature might someday be needed. While they had learned to live peacefully with other races, they had never stopped building ships that could fight. Just in case. Now Black commanded the largest battle fleet ever assembled by humans. 150 warships had jumped through space at speeds that would shock most alien races. Humans had always pushed their technology to move faster, hit harder, and survive longer. Sir, we're being hailed by the Luminan government, said the communications officer. Put them through, ordered Black. The main screen lit up with the face of First Minister Vala. Her blue skin seemed paler than normal for a Luminan, and her large eyes showed both fear and relief. "Admiral Black," she said, her voice shaking, slightly. "You came, we didn't expect you so soon." Black nodded. "When friends call for help, humans don't waste time. The Vorax forces above your capital are being dealt with, but our scans show more of their ships approaching your system." "Yes," said Vala. "Our long-range sensors detected at least 50 more ships. They will arrive in 7 days." Black smiled, for the first time. It was not a kind smile. "Good. That gives us time to prepare a proper welcome." After the call ended, Captain Ford approached the Admiral. "Sir, what exactly are we planning? The Vorax reinforcements will outnumber us, even with our current fleet." "Numbers aren't everything, Captain," said Black, "and we won't be alone." He turned to the communications officer. "Send word to Earth. Tell them to deploy the 2nd and 3rd fleets, and contact Admiral Wei. I want the Asian Confederation. Ships here within 3 days." Ford's eyes widened. "That's almost our entire Space Force." "The Luminans helped us when we needed friends," said Black. "We will do no less for them." Down on the planet, Ambassador Trell watched in amazement as human soldiers and engineers poured out of landing ships. Unlike the tall, thin Luminans, humans were shorter but more solid-looking. They moved with quick, purposeful steps as they set up defense positions around major Luminan cities. "Your people work very fast," Trell said to Colonel Mike Taylor, the human ground commander. Taylor nodded as he studied a map of the capital city. "We have to. On Earth, being slow often meant being dead." "What are these devices your soldiers are placing around the city?" asked Trell, pointing to large metal objects being installed at key points. "Shield generators," said Taylor. "They'll create an energy barrier that should stop most Vorax weapons. And these," he pointed to smaller objects his troops were burying, "in the ground, are auto turrets. They'll target any Vorax ground forces that try to land." Trell watched as more human ships arrived in orbit every few hours. In just 2 days, the sky above Lumina had become filled with human vessels. Some were massive warships bristling with weapons. Others were smaller, faster ships that patrolled the outer edges of the system. On the 3rd day, a new type of ship arrived. It was huge, almost twice the size of the Defender of Peace. "What is that?" asked Trell, looking up at the massive vessel through the window of the command center that humans had set up. Colonel Taylor smiled. "That's the UEFS last argument. It's a planet cracker." "A planet cracker?" Trell's voice shook slightly. "Ship that can destroy a planet," Taylor explained calmly, as if discussing the weather. "We've never actually used it on an inhabited world. But the Vorax don't know that." Trell felt a chill run down his spine. Humans had built ships that could destroy entire planets, and they had brought one here. "Don't worry," Taylor added, seeing Trell's expression. "We're not planning to crack any planets today. The last argument is here as a final warning to the Vorax. Sometimes showing what you could do prevents you from having to do it." That evening, Trell was invited to a meeting on the Defender of Peace. Admiral Black had gathered his top commanders to discuss strategy. Trell was surprised to be included. "You know the Vorax better than we do," Black explained. "We need your insights." The meeting room was filled with holographic displays showing Lumina, the approaching Vorax fleet, and the positions of human ships. Trell had never seen such detailed battle plans before. "The Vorax rely on fear," Trell explained to the human commanders. "They appear suddenly, strike hard, and expect their targets to surrender quickly. They have never faced serious resistance." "Admiral," Black nodded. "Then we'll give them something they've never experienced before." He turned to his officers. "I want our fastest ships positioned here and here." He pointed to spots on the holographic map. "When the Vorax enter the system, hit them from multiple directions. Don't engage directly, strike and move, make them chase you. Divide their forces," said a female commander with the name Garcia on her uniform. "Force them to split up." "Exactly," said Black. "Meanwhile, our main fleet will wait here, behind Lumina's largest moon. When their forces are scattered, we, emerge and hit their command ships with everything we have. Trell watched in amazement. Humans didn't just fight. They planned how to fight. They thought about war as a problem to be solved. As the meeting ended, Admiral Black approached Trell. "Ambassador, there's something I need to ask you, something important." "Of course, Admiral," said Trell. "If we defeat the Vorax here, they will likely retreat. But they will come back eventually." Black's eyes were serious. "We can defend Lumina this time, but your people need to be able to defend themselves in the future." "But we are not warriors," said Trell. "We have not fought wars in thousands of years." "You don't need to become warriors," said Black. "But you do need warriors to stand with you. I am proposing a defense agreement between Earth and Lumina. We will provide ships, training, and personnel to protect your worlds. In return, we ask for access to your scientific knowledge and trade routes." Trell thought for a moment. "This would change everything for my people. But I believe the Council will agree. We have seen now that the galaxy is not as peaceful as we had hoped." As they shook hands, sealing their informal agreement, alerts began to sound throughout the ship. "Admiral," called out a sensor officer, "the Vorax fleet has changed course. They're moving faster than expected. They'll be here in less than a day." Black's face showed no fear, only determination. "Then we meet them sooner than planned." Battle. Stations. All ships prepare for combat. The time for planning was over. Now would come the fury of the Deathworlders. Commander Drac of the Vorax Dominion stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Hunger. His scaled skin gleamed under the red lights of the command center. 4 arms crossed over his armored chest as he watched the main screen. "Show me these human ships again," he ordered. The screen displayed images of the Earth vessels protecting Lumina. Drac had never seen ships like these before. Most spacefaring races built vessels that were smooth and elegant. These human ships were different. They were covered in weapons, radar dishes, and extra armor. They looked ugly. They looked dangerous. "We have never fought these humans before," said Drac to his second-in-command, Officer Vex. "What do we know about them?" "Very little, Commander," replied Vex. "They are from a planet called Earth. It is classified as a death world. High gravity, extreme weather, dangerous animals, and deadly diseases." "A death world?" Drac's yellow eyes narrowed. "That explains the heavy armor on their ships. But it doesn't matter. We are 50 ships strong. They cannot stand against us." What Drac didn't know was that human sensors had already detected his fleet. Deep inside the UEFS Defender of Peace, Admiral Black and his team watched the Vorax. "Ships approach." "They're coming in fast," said Captain Ford. "All 50 ships in tight formation." Black nodded. "They're used to overwhelming their enemies with numbers. They don't expect a real fight." He turned to his communications officer. "Signal all ships. Execute Plan Delta." Across the human fleet, captains received their orders. Small, fast attack. Ships moved into position. Larger warships powered up their weapons. And the massive planet cracker, the last argument, slowly moved out from behind Lumina's moon, making sure the Vorax could see it clearly. On the bridge of the Eternal Hunger, alarms started to sound. "Commander!" shouted a Vorax officer. "Our sensors are detecting a massive energy signature behind the moon." The screen showed the last argument emerging from hiding. Even Drac, a veteran of many conquests, felt a chill when he saw the size of the vessel. "What is that ship?" he demanded. Before anyone could answer, another officer called out, "Multiple small ships approaching from Sector 4. They're moving extremely fast." Drac turned to see 20 human attack ships racing toward his fleet. They were small, but moved with incredible speed, weaving and dodging as if their pilots had no fear of death. "Target those ships," ordered Drac. "Destroy them." The Vorax fleet fired their energy weapons. Green beams cut through space, trying to hit the human vessels. But the small ships were too fast, too unpredictable in their movements. Then the human ships fired back. Missiles streaked across space, each one finding its target with perfect accuracy. 5 Vorax ships exploded in the first volley. "Impossible!" shouted Drac. "No race has weapons that accurate." But the humans did. On Earth, they had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of killing. Their missiles were guided by artificial intelligence that could predict enemy movements. Their pilots trained in simulators that recreated the chaos of battle. They were born on a world where only the strongest survived, and they had brought that strength to the stars. "More human ships approaching from Sector 7, called out another officer. Drac looked at his tactical display. The human fleet was attacking from multiple directions, forcing his ships to split their fire. This was not how battles were supposed to go. The Vorax always attacked in overwhelming force, crushing their enemies quickly. Now they were the ones being swarmed. "Launch our fighter craft," ordered Drac. "All ships, break formation and engage the humans directly." The Vorax ship spread out, releasing hundreds of small fighter craft. For a moment it seemed like the tide might turn. The Vorax fighters outnumbered the human ships 3-1. But then something unexpected happened. The human fighters started ramming the Vorax craft. "They're insane," shouted Vex as they watched a human pilot fly straight into a group of Vorax fighters, destroying himself and 3 enemies in a ball of fire. What the Vorax didn't understand was that each human fighter was piloted remotely. The pilots were safe on larger ships, controlling their craft through neural links. To the Vorax, it looked like humans were willing to die just to take a few enemies with them. As the battle raged in space, Commander Drac realized he needed to change tactics. "Send 10 ships to attack the planet directly," he ordered. "If we can't defeat their fleet, we'll force them to surrender by threatening the Luminans." 10 Vorax warships broke away from the main battle and headed toward Lumina. Drac smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. No defending force would allow civilians to be harmed. The humans would have to split their fleet to protect the planet. But Admiral Black had anticipated this move. As the Vorax ships approached Lumina, they were met not by human ships, but by a shimmering energy barrier that surrounded the entire planet. "What is this?" demanded Drac. "How can they shield a whole planet?" The Vorax ships fired their most powerful weapons at the shield. The energy barrier flickered but held strong, and while they were focused on breaking through, they didn't notice what was happening behind them. The last argument, the human planet cracker, had moved into firing position. Its main weapon began to glow with white-hot energy. "Commander," said Vex, her voice shaking slightly. "That large human ship is powering up some kind of weapon. The energy readings they're off the scale." For the first time in his life, Commander Drac felt fear. Not the normal caution of battle, but true, deep fear. These humans fought like nothing he had ever seen. They had shields that could protect entire planets. They had ships that could destroy worlds. "All ships," he transmitted across the Vorax fleet. "Pull back to Rally Point Beta. Repeat, pull back immediately." But it was too late for many of his ships. Human vessels pursued the retreating Vorax relentlessly, destroying another 12 ships before they could escape. By the time Drac's flagship reached safe distance, only 23 of his original 50 ships remained, nearly half his fleet gone in less than an hour of battle. In the command center on Lumina, Ambassador Trell and Colonel Taylor watched the battle through holographic displays. Trell couldn't believe what he was seeing. The mighty Vorax, terror of the galaxy, were running away. "Your people fight differently than any race I have ever seen," said Trell. Taylor nodded. "On Earth, we have a saying. The best defense is a good offense. We don't wait to be attacked. We strike first, we strike hard, and we make sure our enemies think twice before coming back." As they spoke, Admiral Black's face appeared on a communication screen. "The Vorax are retreating," he reported. "But they'll be back with a larger force. We've bloodied their nose, but we've also made them angry." Trell looked worried. "Will your fleet stay to protect us?" "Of course," said Black. "But we need to do more than just defend. The Vorax won't stop until they're fully defeated, or until they believe attacking Lumina will cost them too much." "What are you suggesting?" asked Trell. Admiral Black's face was grim but determined. "We need to take the fight to them. Find their homeworld. Show them that attacking our allies has consequences." Trell was shocked. "You want to attack the Vorax Dominion? But that could start a galactic war." "The war has already started," said Black, and humans don't lose wars. As the remaining Vorax ships disappeared into deep space, the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. The Deathworlders had drawn first blood and they were just getting started. 2 days after the battle above Lumina, Admiral Black called a meeting on the Defender of Peace. All the top human commanders were there, along with Ambassador Trell and First Minister Vala representing the Luminans. The main holographic display showed a map of Vorax space based on information gathered from captured Vorax ships. The Vorax Dominion controls 27 star systems, explained Captain Ford, pointing to red dots on the map. Their homeworld is here, deep inside their territory. But they have a major base at this location just 3 jumps from Lumina. Admiral Black nodded. This base is their staging area for attacks in this sector. Our intelligence suggests they're gathering forces there now for another attack on Lumina. Trell looked at the map with worry. You want to attack this base? But the Vorax will have hundreds of ships there. We're not going to fight them ship to ship, said Black. That would cost too many lives on both sides. We have a different plan. He nodded to a woman in a black uniform with no rank insignia. She stepped forward and touched the display, zooming in on the Vorax base. I'm Agent Reyes of Earth Special Operations, she said. My team has studied the Vorax base defenses. They're strong against frontal attacks but weak against infiltration. The Vorax don't expect enemies to get past their outer defenses, so their internal security is minimal. What are you suggesting? Asked Vala. A small team can infiltrate the base and plant these. Reyes held up a small device that fit in her palm. Quantum disruptors. They temporarily disable all technology within a 10-kilometer radius. With their systems down, the Vorax ships will be sitting targets, added Black. We can destroy their fleet while it's helpless. Trell was shocked. This seems dishonest, not a fair fight. The humans in the room exchanged glances. Captain, Ford spoke gently. Ambassador, there's no such thing as a fair fight in war. On Earth, we learned long ago that the goal isn't to be fair. It's to win while losing as few of your own people as possible. But such an attack, Trell began, will save millions of lives, finished Black firmly, both human and Luminan. The Vorax started this war when they attacked peaceful worlds. We'll end it by any means necessary. The meeting continued as the humans discussed the details of their plan. The Luminans listened in growing amazement. Humans didn't just have advanced weapons. They had strategies, contingency plans, and backup plans for their backup plans. They thought about war in ways the peace-loving Luminans never had. Later that day, Trell walked through a human military camp set up near the Luminan capital. Human soldiers trained, cleaned weapons, or rested between shifts. Despite being in the middle of a war, they seemed calm, almost relaxed. A group of soldiers sat in a circle, laughing as they played some kind of card game. When they saw Trell, they invited him to join them. I don't know your game, said Trell hesitantly. We'll teach you, said a soldier with the name Rodriguez on his uniform. It's called poker. It's all about strategy and bluffing. As they taught him the rules, Trell asked, Aren't you afraid? We're about to attack the Vorax base. Rodriguez shrugged. Sure, we're scared. But fear is just another thing to manage, like hunger or thirst. On Earth, we face danger every day. Natural disasters, wild animals, disease. Being afraid is normal. Letting fear control you isn't. Another soldier nodded. My hometown in Australia has spiders that can kill you with one bite. Space lizards don't seem so scary after that. The soldiers laughed, and Trell realized something important about humans. They used humor to face fear. They acknowledged danger but didn't let it stop them. It was how they had survived on their death world. The next day, 3 human stealth ships left for the Vorax base. Each carried a team of special operations agents led by Agent Reyes. Their mission was to infiltrate the base, plant the quantum disruptors, and escape before they activated. Meanwhile, the main human fleet prepared for battle. New ships had arrived from Earth, bringing their total to over 200 vessels. They would wait at a safe distance until the disruptors activated, then jump in to attack the helpless Vorax fleet. Admiral Black invited Trell to observe the operation from the Defender of Peace. Your people should witness this, he said. It's being done in your name. The mission began smoothly. The stealth ships approached the Vorax base undetected. Agent Reyes and her teams deployed in special suits that hid them from Vorax sensors. Team 1 in position, came Reyes's quiet voice over the comm. Planting first disruptor now. The bridge crew of the Defender of Peace watched through helmet cameras as the agents moved through the Vorax base. The Vorax, confident in their outer defenses, had few guards inside their facilities. Team 2, disruptor planted, reported another agent, moving to extraction point. Team 3, we have a problem, came a third voice. Heavy Vorax presence in our target area, seeking alternate route. Trell held his breath. The agents of Team 3 were deep inside the base. If they were discovered, the entire mission would be at risk. This is Team 3 leader, said the agent after a tense minute. Found another path, disruptor planted, moving to extraction point. A collective sigh of relief passed through the bridge, but the mission wasn't over yet. The team still had to escape before the disruptors activated. All teams, you have 15 minutes to clear the area, said Black into the comm. Extraction. Ships stand by for pickup. Trell watched the helmet camera feeds as the agents raced back through the Vorax base. Team 1 reached their ship first, followed quickly by Team 2. Team 3, report status, called Black. We're cut off from our extraction point, came the tense reply. Vorax patrol between us and the ship, looking for alternate route. You have 10 minutes before disruptors activate, warned Black. If you're in the radius when they go off, your suits will fail. Understood, sir. We'll make it. Trell couldn't believe how calm the human agents sounded despite the danger. On the camera feed, he could see them moving silently through Vorax corridors, avoiding patrols with practiced skill. 5 minutes to activation, announced Captain Ford. Team 3, we're sending in a distraction, said Black. He nodded to a tactical officer who pressed a button on her console. On the far side of the Vorax base, a series of small explosions erupted. Alarms blared, and Vorax guards rushed toward the disturbance. Path clear, reported Team 3, making final approach to extraction ship. 2 minutes to activation, said Ford. The camera showed Team 3 running now, no longer concerned with stealth. They reached their ship just as the countdown reached 1 minute. All teams clear, reported Reyes as the last extraction ship lifted off. Disruptors will activate in 30 seconds. The human fleet jumped into position around the Vorax base. On the main screen, Trell could see hundreds of Vorax ships docked or floating in formation. Disruptors activating. Now, said Ford. Across the Vorax base, lights flickered and died. Ships drifted powerless in space. Defense systems went dark. All ships, open fire, ordered Black. The human fleet unleashed its weapons on the helpless Vorax vessels. Missiles and energy beams tore through, ships that couldn't raise shields or fire back. In just 10 minutes, the entire Vorax fleet at the base was destroyed or disabled. As the human ships began to withdraw, leaving the base in ruins, Trell turned to Admiral Black. You've won a great victory, he said. Black shook his head. This isn't victory yet. This was just a message. A message. To the Vorax leadership, said Black. The message is simple. Leave Lumina alone, or next time, we come for your homeworld. Trell shivered slightly. The Deathworlders had brought their fleet of fury, and the galaxy would never be the same again. 1 month after the attack on the Vorax base, representatives from 20 alien civilizations gathered in the Grand Hall of Lumina. The hall was decorated with beautiful light sculptures and flowing water features, showing the peaceful art that Luminans were famous for. But today there was something new in the hall, a display of human ships, shown as small holograms floating above the center table. Ambassador Trell stood beside First Minister Vala as they welcomed the visitors. Many of the representatives looked nervous. News of what humans had done to the Vorax had spread quickly through the galaxy. Welcome, friends, said Vala. We have called this meeting to discuss the new alliance between Lumina and Earth, and to invite others to join us. A tall, tree-like alien named Braun from the Arbor Confederation spoke first. Is it true what we have heard? That the humans destroyed an entire Vorax battle fleet without losing a single ship? It is true, said Trell. The humans used strategy rather than just force. They are different from any species we have encountered. Different is a gentle word for it, said another representative, a blue-skinned Delvian with 4 arms. They come from a death world. They think differently. They fight differently. Can they be trusted? The door at the far end of the hall opened, and Admiral Black entered with Captain Ford and Agent Reyes. The alien representatives fell silent, many shifting uncomfortably in their seats. These humans saved our world, said Vala firmly. When we called for help, they came without hesitation. Yes, their methods are different, but their hearts are good. Admiral Black stepped forward. I understand your concerns, he said calmly. Humans have a history of warfare that makes many species uncomfortable. But that same history has taught us something important. The best way to avoid war is to be prepared for it. The Vorax have been attacking peaceful worlds for generations, added Captain Ford. None of you could stop them. We did. There was a murmur among the representatives. A small, fuzzy creature named Pix from the Mela cluster stood up. The Vorax took 3 of our outer colonies last year. No one helped us because no one could stand against them. If the humans truly stopped the Vorax, perhaps we should listen to what they offer. For the next few hours, the aliens discussed the human proposal, a defensive alliance that would protect all member worlds from threats like the Vorax. Humans would provide military ships and training, while other species would contribute according to their abilities, technology, resources, or knowledge. As the meeting continued, a messenger entered and whispered something to First Minister Vala. Her eyes widened. We have an unexpected visitor, she announced. A representative of the Vorax Dominion has arrived and requests to address this gathering. The room erupted in surprised voices. The Vorax had never participated in galactic meetings before. They took what they wanted by force, not by negotiation. Let them enter, said Black, his hand resting casually on his sidearm. The doors opened, and a single Vorax entered. Unlike Commander Drax's red scales, this Vorax had scales of deep blue with silver patterns. He wore simple robes rather than armor, and he carried no visible weapons. I am Speaker Torm of the Vorax High Council, he said, his voice surprisingly soft for such a fearsome-looking creature. I come in peace to speak with those who have changed the fate of our dominion. Admiral Black stepped forward. You're a long way from home, Speaker Torm. What do you want? Torm looked around the room, then focused on Black. 1 month ago, humans destroyed our largest military base and nearly a third of our total fleet. Such a defeat has never happened in Vorax history. It has caused changes among my people. What kind of changes? Asked Trell. Civil war, said Torm simply. For generations, the warrior caste has ruled the Vorax Dominion. They believed strength comes from conquest. But there have always been those who disagreed. Scholars, artists, traders. After the human attack, many questioned the wisdom of provoking such a powerful enemy. The warrior caste has lost control of 6 systems already. Black looked skeptical. And which side are you on, Speaker? I represent those who wish for peace, said Torm. We have seen what humans can do. We do not wish to experience it firsthand. I am here to offer a formal end to hostilities between the Vorax and Lumina, and Earth. The room was silent for a long moment. Then Black spoke again. How do we know this isn't a trick? A way to make us lower our guard? Torm reached slowly into his robes and removed a small crystal device. This contains the access codes to all Vorax defense systems in this sector, a gesture of trust. Even Black looked surprised by this. Trell stepped forward and took the crystal, handling it like it was made of precious glass. The Luminan people have always believed in peace, he said. We would welcome an end to conflict with the Vorax. As would Earth, said Black after a moment, provided the terms ensure the safety of our allies. The discussion continued for hours as the details of a peace agreement were worked out. By the end of the day, a tentative treaty had been outlined. The Vorax would withdraw from recently conquered worlds. A demilitarized zone would be established. And most importantly, Both the new Vorax government and the human-led alliance would work together to rebuild worlds damaged in the conflict. As the meeting ended, Trell found Black standing alone by a window, looking out at the stars. "You don't seem as happy as I expected," said Trell. "Peace with the Vorax is what we wanted, isn't it?" Black nodded slowly. "Peace is always the goal, Ambassador, but I've been a soldier long enough to be cautious. You think the Vorax are lying?" "No," said Black. "I think Speaker Torm is sincere, but change is never easy, especially for a warrior culture. There will be resistance. There may be more fighting before true peace is achieved." "Then why agree to the treaty?" Black turned to face Trell. "Because this is why we fight, Ambassador, not for the joy of battle but for the peace that follows. On Earth, every soldier hopes that the war they fight will be the last one needed." 2 days later, a grand ceremony was held to sign the new treaties. The Galactic Defense Alliance was formally established with Earth, Lumina, and 17 other worlds as founding members. Even Speaker Torm, representing the new Vorax government, signed as an observer status member. As the ceremony ended, First Minister Vala addressed the gathering. "Today marks a new chapter in our shared history. When the Vorax threatened us, we called for help and humanity answered. They brought their fleet of fury, yes, but they also brought something more important. Hope. Hope that the strong will protect the weak. Hope that together we can face any threat." Admiral Black added his own words. "On Earth we have a saying, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. Humans come from a harsh world where we had to fight to survive, but that struggle taught us the value of standing together. The alliance we formed today isn't just about defense, it's about building a galaxy where one day no one will need to fight at all." As the diplomats and representatives mingled after the ceremony, Trell noticed something interesting. The aliens, who had once been so nervous around humans, were now approaching them, asking questions, even sharing jokes. And the humans, these fierce Deathworlders, were responding with patience and kindness. Perhaps, thought Trell, this was the greatest strength humans brought from their harsh world. Not just the ability to fight when necessary, but the wisdom to know when to set aside their weapons and extend a hand in friendship instead. The Deathworlders had brought their fleet of fury, but they had also brought peace. The red light blinked 3 times on Commander Leon Reed's desk. Then 3 more times. Then 3 again. Reed looked up from his reports. "Emergency protocol." He pressed the button and a voice filled his office on Mars Station. "Commander, we picked up something on the deep space array. You need to hear this." Reed stood up, straightening his blue uniform. "Send it through." The speaker on his desk crackled. At first he heard only static. Then came a voice, broken and distant. The language wasn't human, but his computer translated it in real time. "This is Governor Wren of the Tala Collective. We are under attack. 3 worlds already lost. Billions dead. Please help anyone." The Krell ships came without warning. "They are not taking prisoners. This is not war. This is extinction." More static. Then the message repeated. Reed's face hardened. The Tala were a peaceful species. They had met human explorers only 10 years ago. They weren't strong allies, but they weren't enemies either. "When did we receive this?" Reed asked. 20 minutes. "Ego, sir." It traveled through the relay network. Based on signal degradation, it was sent 3 days ago. Reed looked at the star map on his wall. The Tala worlds were far from human space, but not too far for a fast response. "Get me Admiral Blake," he ordered. 30 minutes later, Reed stood in the holographic meeting room. The image of Admiral Jordan Blake flickered before him. Her gray hair was pulled back tightly, her eyes sharp and focused. "You understand what you're asking, Commander," she said. "Deploying ships without Galactic Council approval will cause problems." "I understand, Admiral, but I've analyzed the signal. The attack pattern matches what we saw during the border wars." Blake's expression changed. The border wars had happened 20 years ago. Human colonies on the edge of their territory had been destroyed. Millions dead. The attackers were never identified. "Show me," she ordered. Reed displayed the data. The radiation signature from the weapons, The systematic orbital bombardment. It's the same pattern we saw on New Montana and Freedom's Point. Blake was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "The council is meeting right now to discuss the Tala situation. Our representative, Ambassador Davis, is there." Reed nodded. "And how long will they talk while the Tala die?" Blake's image flickered. "Patch me into the council meeting." A new hologram appeared. A large round table with representatives from 20 different species. Ambassador Davis, a tall man with dark skin, was speaking. "Earth urges immediate action. The Tala are a recognized member of the galactic community. We cannot—" A large insect-like being interrupted. "The Tala territories are not strategically important. We must consider the diplomatic implications of intervention." A blue-skinned alien nodded. "We need more information before committing resources." Blake stepped forward, her hologram now visible to the council. "Council members, this is Admiral Blake of Earth's Defense Force. While you debate, a species is being wiped out." The room fell silent. Blake wasn't supposed to be there. "Admiral," said a tall, thin alien with pale skin. "This is a council matter. Military leaders are not permitted in these discussions." "Then stop discussing and start acting," Blake replied. "We've analyzed the attack pattern. It matches the Border Wars attacks on human colonies. The same weapons, the same tactics." The council members looked at each other. "We need consensus," said the insect-like being. "We need to investigate further." Blake's face showed no emotion. "Investigate all you want. Earth is responding to the distress call." She cut the connection to the council and turned to Reed. "Prepare the 7th Fleet. Full combat deployment." Reed saluted. "Yes, Admiral." "And Reed," Blake added, "this isn't just about saving the Tala. If it's the same attackers from the Border Wars, we're finally going to find out who killed our people." Within hours, Mars Station was alive with activity. The 7th Fleet, 30 warships of various sizes, prepared for departure. Soldiers and crew boarded quickly. Weapons and supplies were loaded and battle plans were drawn up. Captain Morgan West stood on the bridge of the UES Thunderchild, the fleet's lead ship. He watched as his crew prepared for war. "Captain," said Lieutenant Ana Torres, approaching with a datapad. "Intelligence report. The last transmission from Tala Space suggests 3 of their 7 worlds have been completely destroyed. The attackers are moving to their homeworld, Velar Prime." West nodded. "Time estimate? If they maintain their current pace, they'll reach Velar Prime in 5 days." "We'll be there in 4, West said. "What do we know about these Krell?" Torres displayed an image of a tall, reptilian-looking being. "Not much. They keep to themselves. They trade with some council worlds but have limited diplomatic presence. No previous signs of aggression, at least none reported to Earth." West stared at the image. "Someone's been hiding something. You don't build a fleet capable of destroying planets without someone noticing." On the other side of the ship, Major Thomas Grant briefed his Marine units. 100 men and women in powered combat armor stood at attention. "This isn't a peacekeeping mission," Grant told them. "This is combat against an enemy that shows no mercy. We don't know much about their ground forces, but we know they're killing civilians. Your job is to stop them." A young soldier raised her hand. "Sir, the Tala, what are they like?" Grant displayed an image of a slender, peaceful-looking being, with 4 arms and smooth golden skin. "The Tala are not warriors, they're builders, thinkers. Their gravity is lighter than Earth's, so they're physically weaker than humans. They've never fought a war among themselves, let alone against another species. They don't stand a chance without help." Throughout the fleet, similar briefings happened. Pilots checked their fighters, gunners tested their weapons, medics prepared for casualties. On the bridge of the fleet's command ship, the UES Ascendant, Admiral Blake received one final message from Earth. "The Council has officially requested that we stand down," said Ambassador Davis's hologram. "They've voted to send a diplomatic mission instead." Blake scoffed. "When will this diplomatic mission depart?" Davis hesitated. "They're still selecting representatives, perhaps 2 weeks." "In 2 weeks, the Tala will be extinct," Blake replied. Tell the council we received their message. No need to tell them we're ignoring it. As the hologram disappeared, Blake turned to her bridge crew. All ships prepare for hyperspace jump. Our mission is simple. Respond to the SOS, save who we can, and eliminate the threat. The massive engines of 30 warships glowed blue, then white. Space folded around them, and in a flash of light, the 7th Fleet vanished from the solar system. Their destination, the Valoran cluster, home of the Tala. Their mission, rescue and revenge. Their orders, show no mercy to those who showed none. The Deathworlders were coming. The human fleet exited hyperspace at the edge of the Valoran cluster. 30 warships, gleaming metal against the blackness of space, dropped back into normal reality with a flash of blue light. On the bridge of the UES Thunderchild, Captain Morgan, West felt the slight shudder as the ship stabilized. He stood from his command chair and looked at the main screen. "Status report," he ordered. Lieutenant Ana Torres worked quickly at her station. "All ships present and accounted for, Captain. No damage from the jump. We're at the outer edge of the Valoran system, as planned." West nodded. "Begin passive scans. I want to know what we're dealing with before we announce ourselves." The crew worked in silence. The tension on the bridge was thick. Nobody knew exactly what they would find, but everyone feared the worst. "Sir," called out the sensor officer, "I'm detecting debris, a lot of it, spread across 3 orbital paths." West's face darkened. "The Tala colony worlds." "Confirmed," said Torres, looking up from her screen. "Based on the debris pattern, the planets were hit with heavy orbital bombardment. Nothing could have survived." West clenched his fist. "Any sign of the attackers?" "Multiple ship signatures detected near the 4th planet. That would be Valar Prime, the Tala homeworld." West turned to his communications officer. "Contact Admiral Blake. Tell her we found them." Minutes later, the holographic image of Admiral Blake appeared on the bridge. West reported what they had found. 3 worlds completely destroyed, he said. "The patterns match what we saw in the border wars. Systematic orbital strikes designed to crack the planet's crust. This isn't invasion. It's extermination." Blake's face remained calm, but her eyes burned with quiet anger. "And the attackers?" "In orbit around Valar Prime. Based on energy readings, they're preparing to do the same thing there. We estimate they have at least 40 ships." Blake nodded. "We're outnumbered. Good." West raised an eyebrow. "Good, Admiral?" "They'll underestimate us," Blake said. "That's what non-Deathworlders always do. Send a recon team. I want visual confirmation of the enemy. And see if you can make contact with any Tala survivors on the ground." West selected his best scout ship, a small fast vessel called the Shadow. Major Thomas Grant volunteered to lead the mission. "We'll get close, get the intel, and get out," Grant told his small team as they boarded the ship. "No engagement unless absolutely necessary." The Shadow detached from the Thunderchild and moved silently toward Valar Prime, its stealth systems making it nearly invisible to sensors. Back on the command ship, Lieutenant Torres dug deeper into the sensor data. Something caught her attention. "Admiral," she called, "I've identified the enemy ships. They're Krell vessels." Admiral Blake looked surprised. "The Krell? They're traders, not warriors." Torres shook her head. "Not according to this data. These ships are heavily armed. And there's something else." She showed Blake a radiation signature. "This is the energy pattern from their main weapons. It's an exact match for what we detected after the attacks on our colonies 20 years ago." Blake's eyes narrowed. "So it was them all along." "There's more," Torres continued. "I've been analyzing Galactic Council communications we intercepted. It looks like they knew about Krell aggression. They classified the information." "Why would they hide this?" Blake asked, her voice cold. "Politics," Torres replied. "The Krell control important trade routes, and some council members have private agreements with them." Blake turned away, her face a mask of controlled fury. They knew. They knew who attacked our colonies, and they said nothing. How many more species have the Krell eliminated while the council looked away? The shadow returned 4 hours later. Major Grant's face appeared on the main screen, his expression grim. "We got close enough to see it all," he reported. "The Krell ships are in formation around Velar Prime. They've already started bombing the northern continent." "And the Tala?" asked Admiral Blake. "Still fighting," Grant said with respect in his voice. "Not very effectively, but they're trying. They have some orbital platforms, but they're being destroyed one by one. On the ground, we detected large groups in underground shelters. They're sending out calls for help on all frequencies." Grant's image was replaced by a recording. A Tala appeared on screen. Its golden skin was covered in dust and what looked like burns. Its 4 arms moved in agitation as it spoke. "This is Governor Wren of Velar Prime. Our orbital defenses have failed. The Krell ships continue their attack. We were told humans were dangerous warriors, but we were told the Krell were peaceful traders. We now know which warning we should have heeded. If anyone can hear this, please help us." The message ended. The bridge was silent. Admiral Blake's voice was steady when she finally spoke. "Send a message to Governor Wren. Tell him help is coming. And tell him what's coming isn't just help, it's retribution." She turned to her tactical officer. "How many Krell ships can we confirm?" 47, Admiral. Most are larger than our vessels. Their weapon systems appear more advanced." Blake nodded. "And how many Tala are still alive on the planet?" Torres checked her readings. "Sensors indicate approximately 3 billion life forms in the southern hemisphere. The northern continent has already been hit hard." 3 billion lives, Blake said quietly. Then louder, "All ships, battle stations, we're moving in." Throughout the fleet, alarms sounded. Crew members rushed to their posts. Weapon systems powered up. Shields came online. Fighter pilots ran to their ships. On the Thunderchild, Captain West addressed his crew. "We're about to face an enemy that thinks exterminating entire species is acceptable. They've done it before, including to our own people. We're outnumbered, but we have something they don't." He paused, looking around at the human faces watching him. "We come from Earth, a planet that tried to kill us every day of our evolution. We survived predators, disasters, disease, and each other. We're Deathworlders. Our bodies are denser, our reflexes faster, our instincts sharper than most species in the galaxy. And we have something else they don't have, a reason to fight. That goes beyond conquest." As he spoke, the fleet began to move, forming into attack formation. "Today we fight for the Tala. We fight for our own colonies that were destroyed. And we fight to show the galaxy that humans answer when someone calls for help." The Krell noticed the human fleet approaching. Their ships began to turn, breaking off their bombardment of the planet. Admiral Blake's voice came through on all channels. "All ships advance. No mercy for those who showed none." The human fleet surged forward, weapons hot, heading straight for the heart of the Krell forces. The battle for Velar Prime was about to begin. The space around Velar Prime lit up as the first shots were fired. The Krell fleet, surprised by the humans' direct approach, had expected the smaller force to hold back or attempt negotiations. Instead, the human ships accelerated straight toward them, weapons already firing. On the bridge of the UES Thunderchild, Captain West watched the tactical display with intense focus. "Target their lead ships," he ordered. "Fire the rods." The weapons officer pressed a series of buttons. "Kinetic bombardment weapons armed and ready, sir." "Fire." From the underside of the Thunderchild, massive tungsten rods shot out. Each was simple in design, just solid metal, no explosives or energy fields. But they were accelerated to near relativistic speeds, turning them into some of the most devastating weapons in the human arsenal. The Krell ships, with their advanced energy shields designed to stop laser and plasma attacks, had nothing to counter pure kinetic force. The rods tore through their shields like they weren't even there. 3 Krell dreadnoughts exploded in the opening salvo. Across the fleet, similar attacks launched. Human ships, though outnumbered, struck with a precision and violence that caught the Krell completely off guard. On the UES Ascendant, Admiral Blake watched the battle unfold. "They're adjusting their shield frequencies," reported a tactical officer, "trying to adapt to our kinetic weapons." Blake nodded. "As expected, Launch the fighter squadrons. Draw their fire while our main ships reload the rods. Hundreds of small fighter craft poured out from the human capital ships. They swarmed toward the Krell fleet, weaving and dodging through energy blasts. Meanwhile, on the surface of Valar Prime, Major Thomas Grant led a team of human marines to the planet's surface. Their dropships landed near one of the largest Tala underground shelters in the southern hemisphere. Grant stepped out, his powered combat armor whirring softly as he moved. The extra weight compensated for the planet's lighter gravity. Around him, 50 Marines secured the landing zone. A group of Tala emerged from a hidden entrance. They were tall, slender beings with golden skin and 4 arms. They moved with grace but showed signs of fear and exhaustion. "We are from Earth," Grant said, his translator converting his words to the Tala language. "We received your distress call. We're here to evacuate as many of your people as we can and stop the Krell attack." The lead Tala stepped forward. "I am Sub-Governor Lenar. Governor Wren is coordinating from our main shelter. We did not expect anyone to come, especially not humans. The Galactic Council said help would arrive in weeks." Grant's face hardened. "We don't wait when lives are at stake. The Krell are fighting our fleet in orbit right now, but we need to move fast. There are Krell ground forces already on your planet." Lenar nodded. "They landed troops before your arrival. They are moving toward our main shelters. Our warriors are trying to stop them, but we are not a fighting species." As if to emphasize the point, the sound of energy weapons came from beyond a nearby hill. Grant checked his tactical display. Krell forces half a kilometer away. "They're attacking a Tala position." He turned to his troops. "Alpha team with me. We're going to show the Krell what happens when you fight real warriors." In orbit, the battle intensified. The Krell fleet, recovering from the initial shock, began to coordinate their attacks. Energy beams lanced out, striking human ships. The smaller human vessels took damage, but their reinforced hulls, designed to withstand the crushing pressures of high-gravity worlds, held together under attacks that would have destroyed most other ships. Lieutenant Torres, on the Thunderchild, identified a pattern in the Krell formations. "Captain, they're protecting a specific ship, larger than the others, hanging back from the main battle." West studied the tactical display. "Their command ship. If we can take it out, it might throw their fleet into disarray." He opened a channel to Admiral Blake. "Admiral, we've identified their command vessel. Request permission to lead a strike. Team." Blake considered for a moment. "Granted, but I want that ship captured, not destroyed. Lieutenant Torres's intelligence background makes her ideal for retrieving their data." West turned to Torres. "Looks like you're coming with us, Lieutenant." Torres checked her sidearm. "Wouldn't miss it, sir." On the surface, Grant's Marines engaged the Krell ground forces. The Krell were reptilian in appearance, tall and strongly built, but they had evolved on a low-gravity world, like many species in the galaxy. They weren't prepared for the speed and strength of humans from Earth, a high-gravity death world. Grant watched as one of his Marines, Private Jenkins, lifted a Krell soldier bodily and threw him several meters. Another Marine moved with shocking speed, dodging energy blasts that the Krell clearly expected to hit. The Tala watched in amazement as the humans tore through the Krell forces. What had been a losing battle for the Tala turned quickly as Grant's Marines attacked. A Krell commander, seeing the battle turning against them, activated his communication device. "This is Ground Commander Vex. The defenders have been reinforced by unknown troops. They are..." The commander paused, checking his scanner. "They appear to be humans. Request immediate support." The response came quickly. "Negative, Commander. Our fleet is engaged with human warships in orbit. Hold your position. Reinforcements are not possible." Vex looked at the advancing humans with growing concern. "These are not normal enemies. They move too fast. They're too strong." "They are from a high-gravity world," came the reply. "Kill them quickly or retreat to your ships." But retreat wasn't an option. The human Marines had already flanked the Krell position. In space, Captain West led a boarding team toward the Krell command ship. 3 small, heavily armored craft carried 20 humans, including West and Torres. They approached from the shadow of a destroyed Krell vessel, using the debris as cover. "Their shields are focused on the main battle," West noted. Their rear defenses are minimal. Torres nodded. Standard non-Deathworlder thinking. They don't expect a direct boarding action. It's too dangerous by their standards. West smiled grimly. Good thing we have different standards. The boarding craft latched onto the hull of the Krell command ship. Cutting tools burned through the outer armor. Within minutes, the humans were inside. West led the way, weapon ready. The corridors were tall and wide, designed for the larger Krell. The humans moved quickly, encountering surprisingly little resistance. They don't have many internal security forces, Torres observed. They rely too much on their shields and external defenses. They reached what appeared to be a control center. A dozen Krell turned in surprise as the humans burst in. West raised his weapon. "No one move," he ordered, his translator converting his words to the Krell language. One Krell, wearing elaborate armor that marked him as a leader, stepped forward. "I am Fleet Commander Drac of the Krell Dominion. You have violated all protocols of warfare. Boarding actions are forbidden under Galactic Council regulations." West laughed coldly. "So is planetary genocide. Surrender your ship and your fleet, or we'll show you how humans fight when our rules are broken." Drac seemed genuinely confused. "We are simply removing an unnecessary species. The Tala serve no valuable function in the galactic ecosystem. The Council has always understood our necessary cleansing operations." Torres stepped forward, her face showing disgust. "You're admitting to systematic genocide and claiming the Council knows?" Drac blinked his reptilian eyes. "Of course, as they knew about your border colonies 20 years ago. Inefficient settlements, too resource-intensive. The Council agreed they could be removed without disrupting important trade." West and Torres exchanged glances. The confirmation of the Council's betrayal was even worse than they had feared. "Secure the bridge," West ordered his team. "Lieutenant Torres, find their database. I want every record of their operations and any communication with the Council." As his team secured the Krell Command Center, West opened a channel to Admiral Blake. "Admiral, you're going to want to hear this. We've captured their command ship, and we now know exactly who's been behind the attacks on our colonies. It's worse than we thought. The battle for Valar Prime was turning in humanity's favor, but the truth they were uncovering about the Galactic Council would change everything." Admiral Blake stared at the data on her screen. The intelligence that Lieutenant Torres had retrieved from the Krell command ship was worse than anyone had imagined. "They've been doing this for decades," she said quietly. "Not just to us and the Tala. At least 7 other species completely wiped out." Around the conference table on the UES Ascendant, the senior officers of the human fleet sat in grim silence. The battle in orbit around Valar Prime had paused temporarily. The remaining Krell ships had pulled back to regroup after losing their command vessel. Captain West pointed to the display. And the Council knew. Not all members, but enough. The Krell called it resource optimization. They eliminate species. They deem non-essential, and then claim their worlds and resources. Major Grant, who had returned from the planet's surface, shook his head in disgust. Some Council members actually benefited. They received a share of the resources without getting their hands dirty. Torres brought up another file. "The border. Wars against our colonies were a test. The Krell wanted to see how we would respond. They thought we might be too dangerous to attack directly, so they hit our outlying colonies first, and when we fought back hard, they backed off." Blake finished. "They decided we were too much trouble for now." West stood up and walked to the main viewport. The blue-green planet of Valar Prime hung below them, still partially obscured by the smoke of the Krell bombardment. "So what now, Admiral? The Krell fleet is damaged but not destroyed. They've called for reinforcements. Within 2 days, they'll outnumber us even more heavily." Blake looked around the table. "Options?" West was the first to speak. "We strike, now, full force. Hit their homeworlds before their reinforcements arrive. They came to exterminate. We should respond in kind." Several officers nodded in agreement. The evidence of Krell atrocities was clear, but Major Grant shook his head. "No. That would make us just like them. I've been on the ground. I've seen what they did to civilians. We can't do the same." "What do you suggest?" West asked, his voice tight. "Targeted strikes. hit their military bases, shipyards, command centers, cripple their ability to make war, but leave their civilian populations alone. The debate continued, passionate but disciplined. This was the dual nature of humanity, capable of both merciless violence and principled restraint. It was what made humans different from the Krell. As they debated, a new message arrived. A Galactic Council delegation had entered the system and was requesting permission to dock with the Ascendant. Perfect timing, Blake said with a cold smile. Let them come. I want them to see what their peaceful Krell allies have done. An hour later, 5 Council representatives stood on the bridge of the Ascendant. Their leader, High Counselor Vex, was a tall being with pale blue skin and elongated limbs. Admiral Blake, Vex began, the Council demands an immediate cessation of hostilities. Your unauthorized military action has created a diplomatic crisis. Blake didn't respond immediately. Instead, she nodded to Torres, who displayed the evidence they had recovered from the Krell ship. Images of planets being destroyed, records of species eliminated, and most damning of all, communications between Krell leaders and certain Council members approving the removal of non-essential species. Would you like to revise your statement, Counselor? Blake asked quietly. Vex's pale skin turned even whiter. These records they must be forgeries. They're authenticated by your own Council security protocols, Torres replied. Some of these messages came from your personal account, Counselor. The other Council members looked at Vex with shock and growing anger. Blake stepped forward. The Krell have committed genocide against multiple species, including attacking human colonies, and some of you knew, some of you profited from it. Vex recovered enough to attempt diplomacy. Admiral, this is a complex situation. The Council must investigate these allegations through proper channels. In the meantime, Earth must withdraw its forces and allow us to negotiate with the Krell. Negotiate? Blake laughed without humor. While the Tala die? While the Krell prepare to destroy another world? No, Counselor. We will not withdraw. The Admiral pulled up a tactical display showing the Krell military installations across 7 systems. We're not here for negotiations. We're here to inform you that the 7th Fleet will strike these Krell military targets within the next 12 hours. We will cripple their ability to make war. We will not target civilian populations, because that's the difference between us and them. Vex was outraged. You cannot. The Council forbids. The Council has lost its authority, Blake interrupted. By allowing genocide, you've broken the founding principles of your own organization. Another Council member, a small insectoid being, stepped forward. Admiral, many of us were unaware of these actions. Not all Council members were complicit. Blake nodded. Then prove it. Help us protect the Tala. Help us stop the Krell permanently, not through more empty words, but through actions. On the surface of Valar Prime, Grant's Marines had established defense perimeters around the main Tala shelters. The immediate Krell ground forces had been defeated, but scans showed more Krell dropships attempting to land. In a large underground chamber, Grant met with Governor Wren and other Tala leaders. Your people fought bravely, Grant told them, but you were not prepared for this kind of war. No one should have to be. Wren's 4 arms moved in a gesture of agreement. We are not warriors. Our species evolved on a world with few predators. We never developed the instincts for combat. Grant nodded. Different worlds shape different species. Earth tried to kill us every day. Predators, disasters, disease. We had to become strong to survive. Deathworlders, one of the Tala, said quietly. That is what the Council calls you. They warned us to be cautious in dealings with humans. And yet, said Wren, you are the only ones who came when we called for help. Grant stood and walked to a table where a holographic map showed the planet. We won't let the Krell return to finish what they started, but we need to prepare you for the future. If you're willing, we can help train your people. Basic defense systems, early warning networks. Wren considered this. You would teach us to fight? We would teach you to defend yourselves, Grant corrected. So next time you won't need to wait for someone else to answer your call. Back in orbit, Blake's War Council had finalized their plan. The human fleet would divide into 3 battle groups, striking Krell military installations across 7 systems simultaneously. The attacks would be precisely targeted. No civilian centers, no planetary bombardment, no extinction-level events. As the plans were being finalized, an urgent message came through from the planet's surface. "Admiral," came Major Grant's voice, "our sensors have detected something strange. Deep scans of the Krell flagship wreckage show unusual energy readings. They're building." Torres checked her instruments. "Confirmed, Admiral. There's some kind of device in the wreckage. It's powering up slowly." Blake frowned. "What kind of device?" "Unknown," Torres replied. "But based on the energy signature, it could be a star killer." The bridge fell silent. Star killers were theoretical weapons, devices capable of triggering a supernova. No known species had actually built one. The destruction would be absolute. Not just a planet, but an entire system. "Can we disarm it?" Blake asked. Torres shook her head. "Not remotely, not in time. Someone would have to go in physically." A new transmission cut through the silence. It came from a Krell emergency channel. "Human fleet. This is High Commander Zool of the Krell Dominion. You have interfered with our ordained task. Your ships have damaged our fleet. This is unacceptable." Blake opened a channel. "Your ordained task was genocide. Surrender your remaining forces immediately." "We do not surrender," came the cold reply. "We have activated our final measure. The star of this system will go supernova in 6 hours. All life in this system will end. Withdraw your fleet now, or perish with the Tala." Blake looked at her officers. "Options?" West spoke first. "If we can locate the control facility, we might be able to stop it." Torres was already working on it. "The device itself is just the trigger. It has to be controlled from somewhere. Based on the communication patterns." She pointed to a small moon orbiting a gas giant on the edge of the system. "There. That's where the control signal is coming from." Blake nodded. "Captain West, prepare a strike team. Find that facility and shut it down. We have 6 hours to save this system." As West left to prepare his team, Blake turned back to the view screen looking at the beautiful planet below, home to billions of innocent Tala who knew nothing of galactic politics or ancient hatreds. "No more," she said quietly. "No more worlds will die today." Captain West's stealth ship approached the small moon quietly. No lights, minimal power, using the natural radiation from the gas giant to mask its signature. Lieutenant Torres sat beside him, monitoring their sensors. "The facility is on the dark side of the moon," she said, "heavily shielded. I'm detecting unusual power signatures." West nodded to the 6 Marines behind him, including Sergeant Miller, his best infiltration specialist. "We go in fast and quiet. 5 hours until that star killer activates. We need to shut it down with time to spare." The ship landed a kilometer from the facility. The moon had no atmosphere, so the team moved in vacuum-sealed combat armor. They crossed the barren surface quickly, using the low gravity to make long, silent leaps. The facility was smaller than expected, just a dome with a few antenna arrays. 2 Krell guards patrolled outside. "Only 2 guards?" Miller whispered over the comm. "That doesn't make sense for something this important." West frowned. "They weren't expecting anyone to find this place. Stay alert." The Marines took down the guards silently. West used the captured access card to enter the facility. Inside, they found a control room with advanced technology. 3 Krell technicians turned in surprise as the humans entered. "Nobody, move," West ordered, his weapon raised. Torres moved to the central console. "This is it, the control system for the Star Killer." She began working to shut it down, but then stopped, her expression confused behind her helmet visor. "Captain, this isn't making sense. The security is strange, almost like it's designed to be bypassed." Before West could respond, a hidden door slid open. What stepped through wasn't Krell. Council members, West said in shock. 3 alien figures stood there. One was the pale, thin, alien species of Counselor Vex. The other 2 were from different council species. They wore protective suits but were clearly not Krell. Humans, said the Vex-like alien. How unfortunate. We didn't expect anyone to trace the signal here. Torres looked at her scanner, then at the aliens. You're not just council members. You're the Special Oversight Committee, the ones who approved the Krell's cleansing operations. A necessary function, said one of the other aliens calmly. The galaxy has limited resources. Some species are simply redundant. West's grip tightened on his weapon. You're behind all of this. The Krell are just your enforcers. The Krell are useful, said the third alien. Their natural aggression makes them ideal for the task. We merely provide guidance and select appropriate targets. Torres was still working on the console. I can shut down the Star Killer, Captain, but there's something else here. Files. Records of every species they've targeted, every world they've destroyed. Download everything, West ordered. We're taking it all back to Admiral Blake. The lead alien stepped forward. Captain, surely we can reach an understanding. Humans are not redundant. You have proven your worth. Your species has a place in the galactic future, unlike the Tala and the others. West stared at the alien with pure disgust. That's where you're wrong. Every species has a right to exist. Every civilization has value. Naive thinking, the alien replied. Resources are finite. Space is finite. Choices must be made. We've made our choice, West said, and nodded to Miller. The sergeant moved quickly, securing the 3 council members, while Torres finished downloading the data and deactivating the Star Killer. Star Killer deactivated, Torres confirmed. And I've got all their files. Decades of records. Every decision. Every world. Every species they condemned. West opened a channel to Admiral Blake. Admiral, mission accomplished. But you're not going to believe who we found here. Back on the UES Ascendant, Blake addressed the Galactic Council in an emergency session. The holographic gathering included representatives from all member species, many looking shocked as Blake presented the own evidence. The Special Oversight Committee has been conducting secret genocide for decades, Blake said. Using the Krell as their enforcers, they've eliminated at least 12 species deemed redundant to galactic civilization. Counselor Vex and several others were conspicuously absent, now in custody on human ships. Humanity joined your council believing in cooperation, Blake continued. What we found was complicity in mass murder. The council chamber erupted in denials, arguments, and accusations. Some had known, many had not. The political fallout would last for years. As the council debated, a new message came through from the remaining Krell fleet. Their leader, High, Commander Zool, appeared on screen. Human Admiral, Zool said, his reptilian features showing no emotion. Our Star Killer has failed. Our council allies have been captured. We propose terms. Terms? Blake replied coldly. We will withdraw from Talaspace. We will not seek revenge for our losses. In exchange, we maintain our current territories. Blake looked at the faces of her officers, at the evidence of the Krell's countless atrocities, at the images of destroyed worlds. You mistook our distance for weakness, she replied. You mistook our patience for fear. We are Deathworlders. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day. We don't fear predators, we become them when necessary. She turned to her tactical officer. Transmit the strike plan. All ships, move to attack positions. The human fleet divided as planned, targeting Krell military installations across 7 systems. The attacks were precise, devastating, but carefully controlled. No civilian centers were hit. No planets were bombarded indiscriminately. Within 24 hours, the Krell military capability was reduced by 80%. Their ability to make war to destroy worlds was gone. Blake sent a final message to the defeated Krell leadership. This is not extinction. This is justice. Remember this day. Remember what happens when you threaten innocent lives. Remember, what happens when Deathworlders answer a call for help? On Valar Prime, the recovery began. Human ships brought supplies. Human engineers helped rebuild. Human Marines trained Tala volunteers in basic defense. In a small garden being replanted after the attacks, Governor Wren spoke with Major Grant. "Why did you come?" Wren asked. "When no one else would?" Grant looked up at the sky, where human ships still patrolled, protecting the rebuilding world. "Because we know what it means to fight for survival against impossible odds," he said. "Because we remember what it's like to be alone in the dark." He watched as Tala children helped plant new trees. "And because when we heard your call, we remembered our own history. How many times we wished someone had answered when we called out." A small Tala child approached Grant, offering him a native flower with her 4 arms. "The elders said you were monsters from a death world," the child said innocently. "Are you?" Grant knelt down to be at eye level with the child. "We come from a harsh world that taught us to be strong, but it also taught us to recognize when strength is needed." He took the flower gently. "Sometimes mercy means having the power to destroy and choosing not to use it. Other times mercy means destroying those who would show none to the innocent." In orbit, the UES Ascendant prepared to lead the fleet home. Most ships would depart, but several would remain to help the Tala rebuild and establish defenses. On the bridge, Admiral Blake watched the planet turning below them. Lieutenant Torres approached with a report. "The Galactic Council is in chaos," Torres said. "Many members have resigned. They're voting on a complete restructuring." "Good," Blake replied. "And the other species that were targeted?" "We've made contact with 3 that were on the Krell's list but hadn't been attacked yet. They've all requested alliance with Earth." Blake nodded. "See that it happens. And have our engineers install a new emergency beacon on Valar Prime. One that links directly to our defense network." Torres smiled. "So if they ever need help again?" "We'll answer immediately," Blake finished. "That's who we are now. We protect." As the main fleet prepared to depart, Governor Wren gave Admiral Blake an honorary title in the Tala language. "What does it mean?" Blake asked. Wren's 4 arms moved in a gesture of deep respect. The closest translation is, "the storm that shields rather than harms." The human fleet formed up one last time above the recovering Tala world. Their message to the galaxy was clear. Threaten the innocent, and the Deathworlders will come. Not because they seek war, but because they understand its cost better than anyone. End.